Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused?
Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Had a chance to watch the debates last night. I'm going to give you the high level, at least my opinion, and some people may agree or disagree. Clear favorites coming out of last debate. Number one, I think a lot of people think Vivek Ramaswamy won. I think that's a natural reaction. He's the closest Trump candidate that there is, and people like his tempo and the way that he presents. It's very similar to Trump. He's matter of fact. He's bullish. I don't see it as a win for him last debate. Overall, he had an initial bump, but then went down. Nikki Haley stood out to me. Ron DeSantis, I said, you know, did the bare minimum. He didn't really stand out. But ultimately, the person who benefited the most from last debate was Nikki Haley. She went from a 2% to a 7% jump, 8% jump. When it came to standalone against Joe Biden, she was the #1 Republican candidate, even outside of Donald Trump, from a head-to-head match, and seemed to be the most benign candidate there would be. I liked her presentation. Second debate, it was a little closer, and I think DeSantis did, you know, the most improved when it came to changing his overall campaign style. He's been very Magoo, very forced. He couldn't even get his smile down, didn't know how to present himself in front of the camera. I think he changed that last night. He decided to stop trying to be soft and just have the resting stone face that he normally has, and I think it served him well. His answers were good. They were strong. They were to the point. It wasn't all about Florida like it was in the first debate. You know, I'll give it to him because the only reason that I think he beat Haley was because the expectation was so low for Ron DeSantis. That being said, I think overall Haley won the debate, especially with women. She had a solution for everything she talked about, whether it was a question thrown to her by the debate stage or the moderators. She had answers. The samples that I've taken from women, just friends of mine, is everyone seems to be kind of getting on board with her. The chat last night, very few people resisted, and most people did in the first debate about Haley. I heard very little, and the reason why is because when it comes to Haley, people go, well, I don't like her. I'm like, well, why? And they're like, I don't know, it's just something I don't like. And I said, well, that's because she bumped against Trump a couple times, and that's the problem. But it's just like the challenge that Tim Scott had with her. He's starting to question her about drapes in the governor's mansion. If that's all you have are the drapes in the governor's mansion, then first of all, that's pathetic. If that's the only dirt you're going to find on Haley, and that's the thing that intrigues me the most, is that she's been vetted as a UN ambassador. She's been vetted as a governor, a military wife. She's had a lot of things thrown at her and nothing sticks. And she's not, you know, riddled with cash. She's not that person who profited off of her service. So I like her a lot, and I'll probably talk about her the most because, you know, if there's somebody who I see as a vice president for Donald Trump, it's most assuredly her, and I think it gets him the at least a large portion of the women in America voting for him again, and more importantly, she can pull some of those swing states that are minority-based voting and bring them to the center, you know, including Arizona, Las Vegas. Not a chance in New Mexico, but I think she pushes Georgia to the affirmative, and it softens Trump's disposition, and this is why he's not going after her. Number three, you might be surprised, and it's funny because I want to call him Bagram, but Burgum. I've liked this guy. I liked him in the last debate, even though he spoke very little. This one, he stood up, and he makes smart business sense. One of my viewers said he reminds them of Ross Perot, and although the squeaky little voice and the big ears aren't there, he does have that eclectic look, and he's very, very strong at conservative-based values with a business focus, which is probably the only Trump-style candidate when it comes to business who's on that dais. Number 4 is Ramaswamy. I thought he was exposed last night, and I've been saying it all along. The guy is big business. He's big pharma. He's didn't start voting until 2018. You look at his Twitter profile through COVID, he was pro-mask, pro-vaccine. I don't trust the guy at all, and I think they exposed him quite a bit last night with his ties to China. the CCP and the money donations coming through. And it was interesting is he got hit by Haley when it came to how he talked about closing his business. Hey, I expanded in China, but I closed my business in China and got the hell out of there. And Nikki says under her breath, well, that must have been right at the same time you decided to run for president. It was pretty flawless. Mike Pence hit him too. Scott hit him. Everybody took a shot at Ramaswamy, even Chris Christie at the end, when Chris Christie's, surmising his stance, and he says, hey, Ramaswamy, put your hand down. And treated him like a second grader. And that's really how you have to treat the guy. He's not serious. I don't see him being on the ticket, and I certainly don't see him as a VP. And I think Trump would be foolish to pick him over Haley. Taking a look, the next is I got to give it to Scott. I thought Scott did better than he has in previous debates, even in the past in his own debates for Senate. He didn't come across as a Southern minister sometimes, and then a rich, uppity elitist the other times. He's a down-to-earth Republican. He's a good guy. He definitely deserves some sort of cabinet position, but he's not presidential material. I don't think he ever will be, but I like him very much. Like I like Ted Cruz sometimes. It doesn't mean that he's presidential. Mike Pence. I like Mike Pence because he got the hits in. His answers are always safe. He's always, curtailing to the Christian conservative element to sell a new book. There's nothing that he did that impressed me, except, make some comments that supported the other candidates and made them look better. Mike Pence is who he is. I love it when he went after Ramaswamy. That's awesome. And then Chris Christie, what's funny is that I just absolutely want to claw my eyes out half the time that he speaks. And then there's other times I'm like, wow, this guy, I understand why he's likable sometimes, because when he talks about state's attorneys taking over for progressive district attorneys, when he talks about education, when he talks about the criminal justice system, I love him. And then he just can't stop talking about Trump. Chris Christie's there for opposition. He's there to make Donald Trump supposedly look bad. All it does is make Chris Christie look bad and makes you wonder when his 7th meal of the day is going to be. And that's pretty much the breakdown. Nikki Haley wins. As far as turning a percentage, I think that she will see a considerable bump. I don't think she'll pass DeSantis. I think if she would have had that performance and DeSantis performed like the first debate, she would have passed him in the numbers. I think she's going to rise to 12, 14, 15%. I think DeSantis gets a bump, and I think Trump goes down again. And it doesn't mean that he lost that debate because he's still in the front running. But there's going to come a time where he's going to have to start taking these candidates seriously, and he's going to have a conversation because people are wondering, where's Donald Trump? We know what he was doing last night. We understand his efforts. But to me, the first time I thought it was a win for him. Last night, I don't think he gained. I don't think he lost. I think if he sits out the next one, it's going to do some damage to his campaign. You can't get this close to a general election within 14 months and expect voters to understand why you're not on the stage if they haven't heard from you in years. And although he is the center of attention, the attention he has received is no longer that positive Fox, CNN, and MSNBC talking about him incessantly 24 hours a day. Nobody's talking about him. And that right there is not a good thing for Donald Trump. That's how he won 2016. That's how he pushed so well in 2020, was controlling the media. And he's only controlling the media from a negative cycle right now when it comes to his indictments. He's got to change that narrative, the way he does that, and get on stage and throw some barbs. Anyway, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. We'll be back tomorrow, and it's getting a little hot out here, and the sun is coming out behind those clouds. So I appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night live and with a recorded show. God bless. Take care of each other.